Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to Movie Night here on Random Trek. I am your toy themed captain, Christopher Ingle, and I'm warning you that Andy is indeed coming. Joined as always by my first officer, a man who does not know that he is a toy. It's Commander Brennan, the Mystical Mar. Brennan, how you doing?
What are you looking at, you hockey puck?
Today we are going to be taking a look at the classic, the one that started the CG movie revolution, Disney Pixar's Toy Story. And Brennan, I think this is an important film to a lot of people. But we are joined by somebody today who actually is a professional in the industry and who, Brennan, you've known for a while now. Brennan, why don't you introduce our guest?
Our guest is my brother-in-law, Jeff Cole. Hello, Jeff.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
No problem. You've been given the rank of red shirt or yellow shirt. Take your pick.
Yeah, red shirt. Let's do red.
Yes, indeed. So Jeff does indeed work at Pixar Studios
That's right.
and is currently working on, or has worked on, Toy Story 5. And we are very, very happy to have you join us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Yeah, I'm not working on Toy Story 5 right now, but I did work on it for about 6 months over this last year. Or I should, yeah, so about a year ago.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
As happens in the film industry.
Oh, yeah. It takes us a long time to make these movies. So, yeah.
Yeah. But going into this, I want to start before we turn it over. I just want a little insight from you, Jeff, as someone who works in the industry, and now you're working in this franchise. Normally we ask what Star Trek means to you, but being that this is Toy Story and that this is your realm, I want to know, what do these Pixar films mean to you in what you do?
That's a great question. I think that, I didn't always want to do animation. And so I loved movies growing up and all sorts of movies. I think what's interesting is when I did decide to do animation, I was already in college and I already knew Brennan. It was well into our friendship and our relationship. But
Yeah.
as I came back into it, it was almost a rediscovery of the Pixar movies in a way where suddenly I was like, oh, I'm going to do animation. I better brush up on these great works of art, these great movies that I loved in passing as a youth and as a young adult, and then kind of coming back to it. For me, there's almost, I mean, we'll get into it, but Toy Story is pretty much a perfect movie. And it's incredible, and just the craft, when you break down into the craftsmanship of it, it really is wonderful and amazing, and kind of a magic trick. And then some of the other movies too. I actually secretly Toy Story 2 is my favorite. But I don't even know if it's as perfect as Toy Story, right? It's so fun. It's so great. And then obviously, like, I love Incredibles. But again, like all these movies, I kind of came back to them and sort of retroactively began to study and appreciate them. And so I think for me, it's just the craft on display really means so much. And then now to be working here at Pixar it's pretty daunting in some ways, and it's also interesting to kind of watch how the sausage actually gets made. It doesn't come perfect and beautiful and well crafted right out of the gate. The people I work with, they're very bright and they're brilliant, but they're not always geniuses. And I think that's a testament maybe to the work, the way that we work more than the people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I absolutely 100%. So we're going to go into going through the film as we normally do, and then we're going to take some time just to go a little deeper with you, and just your work in the industry and your thoughts and feelings, and just wax philosophically if we have to.
Wonderful.
Brennan, I turn the con over to you.
Thank you, Captain Sir. Yes, indeed. This film, released around this time of year, 30 years ago, was insane. I remember the first time seeing it in the theater. I remember it very distinctly. I would have just turned 10 when this movie came out. And certainly, as was mentioned, all modern animated films owe a debt to this film, particularly if they are CGI animated films. Because this was a gamble when this came out. No one had done anything like this on this level. And of course, this is a big hit, both culturally, critically, and financially, which certainly ushered in a new era of animation, but also just the idea of this movie came out during the time when CGI was becoming a more and more proven tool. We had certainly seen things like the pseudopod in the abyss, some of the stuff of the T-1000 in Terminator 2,
Dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
the big one, Jurassic Park, and then this film coming along and showing that you could make a whole movie with computer animation and have it be just as good as any other traditionally animated film. And also have it be just as effective in terms of the artistry. So let's begin, as we always do, with the plot and the story. We're looking at what is essentially a pretty simple story. You have this toy that's the favorite of the little boy Andy. Another toy comes along and sort of displaces that toy. These two toys hate each other and then become best friends over the course of their misadventures. It's the classic buddy movie. It's in the same vein as 48 Hours of Lethal Weapon, where you get these two guys who hate each other. And then by the end, they learn to love each other. It's that kind of structure. And ultimately, it's fairly straightforward in its storytelling. So let's talk about this. So we'll start with you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on just the story and the plot here in terms of its simplicity, but also its effectiveness? What do you think of that?
Well, it's interesting because you talk about the buddy comedy, right? And this does map to that. One of the movies that we mention a lot of times when we're making these movies is Midnight Run.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
That's the one that gets brought up more than 48 Hours or Lethal Weapon. It's Midnight Run. We're always talking about Midnight Run for some reason.
Yeah, Charles Grodin and all those guys.
That's right. So that's the one that gets brought up a lot. But I think that the story itself, it is very simple, and I think that gives you a few benefits in that you can spend less time kind of working out the plot of things, right? There's less exposition that needs to be given, and it can be buried, right? You can bury it really well because there's so, I don't want to say there's very little ground to cover, but in a way there is. So you can cover a lot of it, and you can bury a lot of it. So you can have, for instance, in the early scene, right? It's Woody. He's trying to give sort of a town hall meeting to all the other toys, right, in Andy's room, and he's able to sort of set up like, this happens at every birthday party, every Christmas, and it's all kind of couched in the other toys going, what are we gonna do? Woody, like, we're gonna get replaced. We're gonna be, it's gonna be bad. And they're freaking out. And the wonderful thing that you can then get him to say in there is, no one's getting replaced, right? That's literally like the thing that he says. And then the rest of the movie is about Woody, the toy who just assured everyone they're not getting replaced, maybe getting replaced. And because the movie just sort of lays that out, you can do that, lay it in there, and then kind of let it fly. And so it's really fun. The world is so well realized that it does feel like they create this room, they create the dynamic with the characters, the dynamic with the love of Andy, and then just sort of we insert Buzz, we push him in there, and we sort of create a chemistry, like sort of a chemical reaction that sets off, like what does Woody do now, and how does he change because of that? And you can sort of follow the A to the B to the C to the D of the story progression as he tries to reassert himself, and try to reassert his position and follow through with that. And the complications, obviously, of him trying to solve his problem in the easiest way possible. First, it's, he's not that great. And then, Buzz shows off and everyone's like, whoa, and it's kind of a happy accident for Buzz. But for Woody, it's like this really inconvenient accident. And then later, when he tries to solve it a second time, it ends up he becomes the outcast in the group, right? Because he almost kills Buzz, and they think he killed Buzz.
I think that one of the things that you find with film is if you are sitting there going, man, this is exposition, that means they did it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't notice that it's exposition, they did it right. One of my favorite exposition scenes in all of cinema is Obi-Wan Kenobi's house in the original Star Wars. Everything is laid out in that scene without it feeling like, man, this is a lot of exposition. And like you said about that town hall meeting, that lays out a lot right there. But in a way that it doesn't feel like it's going, hey, it's the exhibition, wake up,
Yeah.
Chris, your thoughts on just the pretty straightforward story here?
I don't think it's as straightforward as we think about it. When I think of this film really deals in existentialism.
Good point.
And this idea of what is our purpose? What is our meaning? Who are we? And we're dealing with two different sides here of this story. We have Woody, who is pretty positive on what his place is. He knows what it is. Everyone else is questioning, are we going to be replaced? Are we gone? Are we going to be tossed out? Are we going to be in a yard sale? Woody's like, no. And everyone's like, of course Woody's not worried. Woody's been his favorite. Woody knows what he's doing. Woody's got confidence, but a false sense of confidence. And when something interrupts that, it immediately sets out a very emotional response that Yoda himself would easily recognize. It's fear. And as Yoda says, fear is the path to the dark side. It leads to anger, hate, then suffering. And Woody goes through this path through here. Yet you have Buzz, who is completely unaware of who he is. He is living in an entirely different reality. And yet, is there actually any real harm in Buzz being Buzz and what he's doing? The others seem okay with it. They're having fun with it. They accept him as he is. The only person who's questioning it is Woody. And so this movie really is about accepting your place. I'd say this whole franchise is about accepting your place and being able to let that evolve and grow and change, and that we're never going to stay the same. And you can live in the moment for so long, but sometimes you've got to move along. And it's the people you have with you that really matter. And Woody's got to learn that through this entire franchise. But in this film especially, he's got to accept the fact that he can still have a place in Andy's life, and Buzz can have a place in his life, and Buzz can be an oblivious idiot. It's okay. So really, this is a lesson as existentialism, and kids don't even know it. You're really questioning who you are and what you are, and this was 95. I think I was in the 6th grade when this came out, something like that. So, like, those are some deep things that, I'll be honest, I didn't really think of till now in my 40s, that, yeah, this is a much more philosophical film than it had any right to be.
Indeed, it is. It's so fascinating to me that this is a movie that you could put in the same category with The Wizard of Oz and the original Star Wars. These are movies that are, on the surface, very straightforward, very simple. The more you dig into them, particularly as you grow older, the more you realize there's a lot more there than you might have thought originally. And I do think that it's very important to point that out, that it is a movie or a series of movies about finding your place. And the idea that sometimes, as much as we don't want things to change, that's our natural inclination as humans. We don't want things to change. But real growth comes in understanding that things need to change. Things need to evolve, and change doesn't always mean something negative. Since this is a Star Trek podcast, that was one of the lessons of Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about people who were scared of change. Because I think, as Kirk says, some people think change means the end of history. And so it's the idea of sometimes you have to evolve. And evolution is really the nature of humanity, is evolving and then changing and accepting that things can't always stay the same.
And isn't it great that this is being told through one of the simplest, most universal things, and that is through play and a toy and a child's eyes?
Mm-hmm.
That we don't have to overcomplicate it. They're just right there in front of us from day one as we play. And what is play but an exploration of life?
Yeah, definitely. And I know that myself, who had a, shall I say, overactive imagination as a child, and I still do. It's the way I learn making sense of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into really what is the heart of this film. And that's the characters. And let's start with Woody and Buzz. Let's be clear. I think that there were no better people than Tom Hanks and Tim Allen to play these characters. I could not think of anyone else. I know that they originally thought of like Billy Crystal as Buzz Lightyear,
That's right.
which I don't think that would have worked as well as this did.
I think he had turned it down. They had said, yeah, yeah. And he was like, nah, no, no. And then he regretted it and came back around for Monsters, Inc.
Mhm.
Something to that extent.
But and I think he was going to be the Buzz Lightyear character.
Yeah.
It was like Laser Larry or something, some name like that.
And they had done even a fun little screen test where they took a clip from
When Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally and animated it to Toy Story. But I could not think of any other actors other than these two to play these iconic roles. And Woody and Buzz have become one of the most iconic buddy teams on film. And this is, of course, during the era when Tom Hanks was just exploding everywhere. Tim Allen had huge success with Home Improvement. I mean, this is really their era, the 90s. And I think that they embody these characters so well and fill out these roles in such a way that I couldn't think of anyone else playing these parts. Chris, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on these two gentlemen in these roles?
It's the iconic role. I mean, and Tom Hanks is a two-time Oscar winner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's, I think, very arguable that you could say this is the role that he will forever be known for. And he's said so on, on interview shows and things like that, for a while it was Run Forrest Run and things like that. But the stuff with Toy Story is what he's always remembered for. He tells a story of being in elevators and there'll be little kids there, and parents will be like, look, it's Woody. And they're like, it's not Woody. And he's like, all right, hold on, close your eyes. And he's like, come on, everybody, Andy's coming. And the kid's like, this is his role. This is what he's known for. And Tom Hanks, or not Tom Hanks, Tim Allen is a bit of a space cadet anyway. I love Tim Allen. I really do. And this works so well for him. And I really appreciate the fact that we're talking 30 years. They have been doing these roles for 30 years, and they still sound as good as they did day one. It is a testament not only to the writing, but to them and the heart that goes into it. I enjoy it so much. Little jokes that still make me laugh every day. Like when he says when he's sucking down Darjeeling with Marie Antoinette and her little sister.
It's an excellent line.
I believe that was an improvised line, but I love it. I was like, that's great.
Yeah, and you're a sad, strange little man.
And I pity you, and he does the fake Vulcan salute. I love it. But there's charm with those two, and they play well off of each other, which is even better. I don't think they ever recorded together. I don't think they did.
I don't think so.
It's not a common approach, but sometimes it does happen. I know some movies do that. So it amazes me how well these two, as tuned actors, are able to tug at our heartstrings. And I know we're only talking about the first one, but by the time you get to that third movie, man, you can't tell me it doesn't pull at you. And it's their performance. Yes, the writing is good. It's very good. But writing only gets you so far. You got to have somebody to drive the tricycle, and they do it. And that's really what makes the heart of this film, is their performance and the charm. And I know it didn't start out that way too, because the Woody character during production was a jerk. He was awful.
Yeah.
I've watched the behind the scenes stuff on the DVDs and Blu-rays, and the stuff they had planned for him was just terrible.
He was a tyrant.
He was might as well have been the villain of the film, not Sid. So I really like the changes that were made, and Tom Hanks just kind of having a softer, he is America's uncle for a reason, or America's grandpa. I don't know what he is now. He's a lot older.
Grandfather.
By now it's grandfather, great uncle. I don't know, but I love him.
Because I just watched The Green Mile last week, and he's excellent in that. So.
And I keep saying, are we gonna, do we need another one? After the third one, I was like, actually, shoot, I'll be honest. After the second one, I went, did we need another one? And then after that, I went, did we need another one? And now we're going to the fifth one. I'm kind of going, do we need no, we need another one. But it's their performances that eat that make that possible.
Jeff, your thoughts on Tom Hanks and Tim Allen?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that as you talk about it, I just think of, for me, I mean, they bring that energy. I was able to listen to some of the recordings for Toy Story 5, and they keep bringing that energy to those roles. You can tell they're still excited about it. They still want to be there. They still want to be doing it. It obviously means a lot to them, just as it does to us as viewers. What's interesting, and you did touch on it, I always think of, just because of the nature of my work, where I see a lot of different iterations. For me, it's always like, oh, what are the roads not taken? What are the choices that were made specifically that reduce other things? And you did mention the Woody that is like this nasty, angry dude, and
ventriloquist dummy.
Well, he starts as a ventriloquist dummy, but even after that, this is one of the versions that they screened for Disney that was absolutely catastrophic. Was in it, Woody was, you mentioned it, he was this nasty guy, and I saw a clip today even that I hadn't seen before, where he's on top of the bed. And he's trying to get all the other toys off the bed too. They're up there, and he's like, "Get out! Get off here! You don't want to be up here!" And he's like, "Slinky, where are you?" And he's like yelling at Slinky and telling Slinky to do his job and get everyone off the bed. And you can see the story math of it, where they're like trying to show that his place is the bed. They're trying to do the architecture of the story to get you into the journey of it. But it's gnarly. It doesn't work, and it's not a character you like. And so one of the things I was listening to too is it was Andrew Stanton talking about Woody, and he said, what we had to do is make him really likable, on like make him a nice guy until his position became threatened, and then he became the nasty Woody, and so that's kind of what I think you see there. And obviously then Tom Hanks and Tim Allen just kind of really are able to make that writing work and really play it.
Yeah, and for all that can be said about Michael Eisner, one of the big suits of that era, he and, if you go back a few years, Jette Katzenberg, were two suits who actually had a clue what they were doing. But there have been so many stories about ideas that were going on with some of the Disney films. And they came in and said, no, we can't do that. Let's do this. And it turned out better. Usually when suits meddle in these things, it only makes it worse. But thankfully those guys at least had some idea of what they were doing.
But maybe I'm a little jaded against the suits. I don't want to turn this into that, but like a stopped clock is right, twice a day kind of a thing. I don't know how much of it is that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, and that's a whole nother discussion. There's quite a few voices in here that are familiar. We certainly have Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head. I mean, I think that yet again, I can't picture anyone else doing that role. But Don Rickles, as very acerbic stand-up comic. Kind of been in this kind of, he just goes with it. He just keeps ramping up the insult humor. And I think that works for Potato Head. Particularly the space he kind of occupies in this story. Which is made you to be the one who is most skeptical of Woody, of all the other toys. A lot of the other toys like Rex and Slinky and others are very loyal to Woody. Miss Potato Head is a bit skeptical. And also there's a lot of great humor with the Potato Head. Anybody who's ever had a Mr. Potato Head will know all about how often all those parts would pull out. And how much fun that is. But yet again, I think Don Rickles here is perfect. Obviously, the first of many roles of John Ratzenberger, coming right off the success of Cheers. The late Jim Varney as Slinky Dog. Those of you who grew up in the 90s will remember him as Ernest in all those movies. He had a little role from Early Ermey as the sergeant, the leader of the Green Army Men, doing his thing, and just a wonderful collection. And because this is a Star Trek podcast, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Lola Shawn as Rex, the Grand Magus of the Ferengi Alliance himself. And of course, Vizzini and Princess Bride. I particularly, of all the characters, Rex always stood out to me. Because even though he's a T-Rex, he's very, very nervous in it. And Lola Shawn embodies that kind of, I'm drawing a blank on the word, insecurity. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we also have to mention a small role, Lori Metcalf as Andy's mom. Many people remember from the 90s and more recently in Lady Bird.
Oh.
Also, Sheldon's mom in The Big Bang Theory.
Sheldon's mom, yes. So a lot of great character actors in this
Annie
cast.
Potts. Can't forget Annie Potts.
And he voted Bo Peep. Now, Bo Peep gets a bit sidelined in the other movies,
Till
but I
four.
am glad
Till
that they
four.
brought her back in the fourth movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, your thoughts on just the rest of the cast here?
All memorable. I'll admit that I didn't know that the guy who plays Ernest was Slinky Dog until he
Yeah,
died.
that's
That's when I
right,
learned
yeah.
it, and I was like, oh, they were the same person. So I'm always a little embarrassed by that fact. But yeah, the rest of the voice cast is awesome, and they really play into, each of those characters kind of has like a game that they're given, right? And you kind of mentioned it, like Rex is everything. Oh no, I'm gonna be worried about everything. And Potato Head is sort of sarcastic, and Ham too is also a little sarcastic, but in like a different way. He has sort of a different.
Very much the Cliff Clavin style of
Yeah,
sarcasm.
yeah, and I think it makes it really fun. One of the things I always come back to, and one of the reasons that I think that the early Pixar movies sometimes are more beloved or maybe more successful with their characters, is all the characters, they're a little bit mean to each other. Like they're a little acerbic, they're a little biting sometimes. And instead of making it feel like they're just sort of nasty to each other, it actually makes them feel like they're friends. Like they feel more like they've been around together, and they have like a
It's
rhythm.
It's the Mike Wazowski and Sully kind of
Yeah,
dynamics.
yeah. And I think you find that in a lot of the films, where newer films, everyone seems to be a lot softer. They're a lot more supportive, and they talk nicer to each other, which is maybe better for trying to model good behavior for kids. But it does take something. It does take something that I sort of sorely miss. That's in Toy Story. All those characters.
It has that family dynamic where, families, we can all kind of joke with each other. And me and you, Jeff, of course, we have our own fun little shorthand kind of
Indeed.
being obnoxious to each other on occasion, but
I'm always trying to be friendly. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, do we have a?
Usually about movies.
Yeah, we do disagree. That's all right.
No, but families have that dynamic, and I certainly think that does work very well in these films.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is very much in keeping with kind of the Star Trek mentality. If you watch, for example, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, the way that the characters sort of banter with each other is like this perfect sense of the family that loves each other kind of feeling.
Yeah, there's really that triangle of like Kirk, Spock, and Bones that they like really kind of play between each other really effectively.
It's very true. So Chris, your thoughts on the cast here?
Oh man. I enjoy them all because they play off of each other so well. Plus I really love how all of the supporting cast of the toys all break the fourth wall continuously. They acknowledge their toys. They acknowledge they're in a created world. I love Wallace Shaw. I'm from Mattel. Well, I'm not actually from Mattel. I'm from a subsidiary from Mattel. I love that. That is hilarious. Or ages 3 and up. On my box, it says ages 3 and up. Just the little jokes that he plays with, or wishing for a Mrs. Potato Head. Like, those are funny ideas, funny things. And those two especially, Ham and Mr. Potato Head. I love how well they play off each other. Ham is just chill and cool. Love Ham, and Potato Head is just Don Rickles. It is just Don Rickles, plain and simple. In fact, I would have watched it if it wasn't Potato Head. It was just miniature Don Rickles just sitting there, and I would have loved it. But the cast, supports each other so well. Do you know Penn Jillette is in this movie?
Yes, he's the announcer of the Buzz Lightyear commercial.
It's a quick thing, but I heard it as a kid, and I love magic and things like that. So like the voicing, but it like didn't fully click until a couple years ago. I was like, that's Penn Jillette. What is he doing here? I don't know, but he's here. I enjoy everyone in this. And, John Morris, The little boy who plays Andy, he plays it during, I think, all three films. I think it's the whole franchise. I think. He's enjoyable too. I love this guy. And just
Its sense of play is very legitimate.
it had to be. In fact, when they brought him in the studio, they said he could bring one X-Men action figure. He brought like 49. I just dumped him on the floor, and I'm like, I love that. Everyone in here plays off of each other so well. They know the world they're living in. They know the environment they're in, and that just makes it all that more fun as we're living in that world in the view of a toy. How many of us imagine being able to be small enough to be with our toys? That's what this film does. And these people act exactly the way you would think, and they know their toys, with the exception of Buzz. And so that fourth wall breaking, I go back to that, is what really makes this a lot of fun. And you have actors who know how to play with that and how to have fun while still not winking at the camera. I enjoy this cast so much. Wallace Shawn, by the way, this was Wallace Shawn's year. He was also in Goofy Movie in the
That's right.
same
He was
year.
the principal.
The principal, yeah.
Yeah, he was the principal in
Yeah, the
Goofy
one who
Movie.
says the electric chair.
The
Great thing for your school principal to tell your parent over the phone.
I love him though. I love Wallace Shawn so much, and he is an unsung hero in this because he's always such just a sensitive sweetie. He reminds me of like Mr. Snuffleupagus in Sesame Street. At the end of the day, he's just a nice, sweet guy. He loves video games, but his arms are a little too short. It's okay.
Yes, which of course the opening of Toy Story 2 is one of the great
And then we
movies.
got what is arguably for me my favorite of the Pixar shorts that they did over the years, the Party Source Rex. Again, getting just to see Wallace Shawn just have some fun with it. They did a lot of shorts. Shorts for the movies. There were shorts on Disney's One Saturday Morning. Like Toy Story has gotten everything. It's gotten a spin-off series. It's got a spin-off movie. I mean, like Toy Story is the bedrock of Pixar. And if you were right, and you said it earlier, if Toy Story didn't work, I don't think you have Pixar. I don't think you have it anymore. This was, go or bust, and it was ready. But the cast, again, once it is awesome.
To give you a sense of the go or bust too, like when they finished the movie, they fired a bunch of people because they're like, listen, I don't think there's a studio after this. Like they ended up rehiring a bunch of them, but it is one of those things where they're like, thanks everyone. I don't think we're going to be here tomorrow, but good luck. And it was huge.
I seem to recall a similar thing happened when Walt Disney pitched Snow White. I mean, this is never going to work.
Well, when you take a look at, yes, computer animation in movies was amazing, but you take a look at computer animation of the time, it was awful. It was terrible. And unless you were going to put in millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, this wasn't going to work. And when you look at the animatics and the early stuff for Toy Story, I'm sorry, it looked awful. I don't think anybody would have had any confidence in it. I don't. But then again, that's me thinking in the 2025 brain looking back. I remember seeing the commercials for this and just being amazed. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the technology and the animation itself in a little bit. But for 1995, when this came out, I think it blew all the expectations. There's a reason that this got a special recognition at the Oscars. This is one of those films, and you compare it to Snow White. Snow White actually got a very similar accolade when it came out at the Oscars because it was so innovative. This was innovative. I believe it got a special achievement Oscar for John Lasseter, which it was nominated for three Oscars: screenplay, musical score, and original song. Of course, at the time, animated feature, it wasn't a thing yet. But yeah, for them to say, hey, you were nominated, but they recognized the work that went into it. And absolutely, that's got it. John Lasseter has obviously gone on to mega things, but that first. And even though it's a special one, it's not really it's like an honorary one,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't give those out every year. They don't. That's an Oscar that you're not going to see very many times, and John Lasseter got one of those. So Pixar hit it on the nail. They had to hit it exact, and they did it. But it had to have been nervous as they're raising that hammer, going, "Are we going to do this?"
And one of the things that we've mentioned a few times here is that what are good actors without a good script to work off? The screenplay to this film, which is written by quite a few people,
Mm-hmm.
including Buffy the Vampire Slayer's very own Joss Whedon,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and Joel Cohen, oddly enough, the,
Mm-hmm. Story by Lasseter and Pete Docter.
but not the Joel Cohen and the Cohen brothers, different
No,
guy.
No,
other.
the Garfield movie, Joel
Yep.
Cohen, I think it is.
Yeah, so some rather interesting people, but what they're able to craft here is brilliant, and I think that one of the things that I really like about those first 15 years of Pixar are the bounciness of the screenplay, if that makes sense. There is a 1940s screwball comedy rhythm to these screenplays that just the dialogue just bounces. It just goes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's very much like a game of ping pong. It just goes back and forth and back and forth. Seamlessly, flawlessly. And I would say this film has a screenplay that does that. It just bounces. It just moves.
What's really great is you have a screenplay with credited, according to the Academy Awards, Whedon, Stanton, Soklow, Cohen, Lasseter, Doctor, and Raft all had story and screenplay credits. I believe almost all of them have gone on to direct at least one Pixar film.
Sweden didn't direct a Pixar film, but he certainly directed plenty of films.
But what that tells you is that these are storytellers first.
Mm-hmm.
These guys knew what they were doing. And for execution is execution. You've got to hit it. But it all starts with an idea. And for all of these guys to come together and have these ideas, and for it to show that these were future. Oh, excuse me. Whedon never directed, but he directed other things later on.
Mm-hmm.
Still, the success that was in that room back in 1993, I think, when the script was finished, you couldn't have predicted this. You could not have had any idea that this is where it was going to go, because obviously animated films were still knocked on. Oh, these are just kiddie fare. Only one film had ever gotten a Best Picture nomination. That was Beauty and the Beast. Everything else is treated as childish fare. So I'm sure when Disney was willing to invest and distribute this, they were like, let's try it, I guess. Nobody had to have had any faith in it but these guys, these storytellers.
Yeah, and you know the old saying that sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen.
These
That's
were
a
some
lot of
pretty
guys
darn
writing.
good cooks.
That's a lot of guys writing the screenplay, but it works so well.
Well,
Mhm.
it's probably important to know too that the screenplay, when we think of a screenplay, a lot of times we think of the live action style where like a script is written and then it's filmed and maybe there's changes made along the way. But with an animated movie, a lot of times the visuals and the script are sort of crafted simultaneously in a way, right? Like there'll be a script or there'll be a screenwriter, but there's storyboards too, and you cut an animated movie before you ever actually film it or make it, right, to see if it works, because it's so costly. And so you're building the blueprint, and a lot of times when you get in there and you start putting the visuals in, the drawings in, and you can see them, right, they'll pitch the stuff with the stick on the board, right, in those old making of, right. That's them proving out the writing, and sometimes they're adding in dialogue or saying, hey, we could take this out or we could do this. And so a lot of times what you have, especially like if you think of the screenplay credits for that movie, It's because you had a lot of those guys. They would get together in the room. They'd try to solve the problem. Someone would draw it out, or they'd draw it out together. They'd pitch it. They'd figure it out, and then someone would actually go back and start typing it. Like as they've figured it out. And I had a last year. I got to sit in on with Toy Story 5. I got to sit in the room with Stanton and his co-director Kenna, and with Bob Peterson, who would work on that too. And we were like jamming on dialogue. It was one of the highlights of my career, but it was so fun because it was like, oh, here's the scene, here's the script, and we'd go through and we just throw out ideas for better lines with the characters. Oh, they could say this, they could do this, and then Stanton would be like, okay, what was that? Oh, okay, yeah, how did that go? And then he'd riff on it too, and Bob Peterson would say something. Bob Peterson always says something funny, and so he would say something funny, and Margaret Spencer was there too, and we'd be just jamming and coming up, and then he'd write it down, and then he'd go back and he'd type it into the script, and then the next thing you know, they'd be recording it with the actors when that time came. So I think it's important to know that like animation, more than just a live action film, in the writing of it's iterative, it's collaborative, and it is a lot. Sometimes it is a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but hopefully it's a lot of really talented cooks, and you get to have it's people jamming and having fun and trying to entertain each other and make each other laugh. I think that's part of the reason that Toy Story is so entertaining, is because they're there in the room proving it to the other their peers, like, hey, this is funny. Isn't this funny? Isn't this working? And someone's going, maybe. Oh wait, what about this? And then they're jamming together, and I think that's such an important part of the animation process that I just want to make sure we don't leave out.
It's like jazz. It's
Mhm.
like it's like a band playing jazz. It's riffing on it, just going with it,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, somebody starts this beat, and somebody picks up that beat, and then they change it.
Mhm.
It's sort of the improv uh, approach to comedy. The yes and let's go with
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
kind of thing. Mm.
Well, and because you're not working on set, it's sort of the only time you have to do it before you then push it through for the years of production. There's not that ability to sort of riff on set with actors. They do it in the voice in the room with the actors when they're
Mm-hmm.
recording the voice work, but a lot of times that doesn't make a huge difference on the story itself, because the story is already so plotted out. Whereas I think sometimes in live action films, sometimes that can change as they're filming. It can change the course of the movie a little bit.
Good point. But yeah, Oscar-nominated screenplay, as we mentioned, which I believe was the first time an animated film got a screenplay Oscar nomination. But I don't think Beauty and the Beast got a screenplay nomination. I think.
Mhm.
No,
So
no, it did
that's
not.
really an achievement here. Now we talk about the themes. We've touched on a lot of the themes here about existentialism, about finding your place, about the idea of change, and that always not necessarily being a bad thing, and also understanding that I think that what you get in the scene with Buzz finding out he's a toy, and then where the story goes from there, is the idea that, okay, you're not a toy, or you're not a real spaceman, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But you are a toy, but that doesn't define who you are. You're able to sort of define that for yourself. And that's a good lesson, because in a society that we live in right now, maybe it's better than it was, maybe not. There's a lot of boxes of you fit in this box. We assign you to this box. Society. Society says you're this, so you are. And I think what hopefully people come to understand is that you don't need to be defined by anyone else's definition of where you fit. You're able to define that for yourself. And I think that that is a message that I definitely get out of this film. And certainly the message of friendship, in the case of Woody and Buzz. And I think that, the great scene when, Buzz is going to be launched by Sid on the rocket and Woody is under the little basket. And I think it's that moment when the characters sort of, there's a vulnerability to those characters that we haven't seen up to that point. I think part of friendship sometimes is being willing to be vulnerable with someone and say, you know what, I'm weak, or in Woody's case, I need your help. I think that's the first time that Woody admits he needs somebody else to help him. But up to that point, he's very much a I can do it myself kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the visual of it too is so powerful because he's trapped in that crate, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's like we get to see the sort of visual interpretation of his character. He's trapped. He's stuck. He can't do anything. And that he's at his lowest point.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a great Easter egg too.
Yes.
That crate, Binford
And
Tools.
the toolbox, Binford.
I caught that as a kid.
I just caught that for the first time today, and I went, "Oh, that's what it is."
Wait, what's the reference? I don't know.
Binford Tools was the fictional tool company that Tim Taylor worked for in Home Improvement.
Yes, I
wow.
thought that was a great, fun little reference.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Never caught
But
it.
sometimes it's the idea of saying, I can't do it all. That, I think, is what defines friendship or love, even, is to say, I can't do this without you, kind of thing. And I think that's a really deep and very profound message in this film. When we come now to the music, Randy Newman. Randy Newman provides the score and the original songs for this movie. You've Got a Friend in Me has become an iconic all-time song. And certainly there are moments of the score here that really are iconic. And I think that what it creates is a very, very well-known and well-regarded soundtrack, meaning the score and the songs. So Jeff, we'll start with you. Randy Newman and the music of Toy Story.
Hate it. No, I'm just kidding. It's wonderful. It's great. I was just trying to think of like it's so for me, and maybe I just don't know enough movies that are scored by Randy Newman, but for me it's sort of synonymous. Like I can't imagine Toy Story with a different soundtrack at all, and I can't imagine a Randy Newman scored movie that isn't Toy Story. But that's a failing of mine. I don't know if either of you know.
Princess and the Frog is one of his.
Okay, but like a more, I don't know, definite movie. I don't know. Did he? I didn't know he did.
I mean, that's the weird thing.
Stuff that
he has been synonymous with this film.
He's done so many things, but stuff that he has been nominated for in real film. The Natural, he was nominated in '84.
Oh, yes.
Pleasantville, he was nominated in '98. He gets recognized a lot more for his Disney stuff. He was nominated for Babe, Pig in the City, which, by the way, terrible film.
Oh, you don't like Babe, Pig in the City?
I love Babe.
Well,
I don't like Pig in the City.
You don't like Pig in the City. Oh, interesting.
But he got nominated for that too. And it's not the only trip with Disney that he would. Of course, James and the Giant Peach. I love James and the Giant Peach. A Bug's Life. And then my all-time favorite, and I'm going to tell you now, as timeless as You've Got a Friend in Me is, it gets on your nerves after a while. It's like It's a Small World. You're like, come on. But my absolute favorite one is Toy Story 2. He wrote When She Loved Me. If that doesn't tear your heart listening to that every single time, I don't know what does. So, he's done so much. And, he is not the only one in that family either. With the names for Pixar. But when you think Toy Story, You think Randy Newman.
True.
And certainly, he has a very distinct style.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly in his singing, obviously, because his voice is so distinct. But there really isn't anybody quite like him. Mm. Whether you like what he does or not, 'cause I know some people are not big fans of his, because his musical style is unique. Certainly the Newman family is legendary when it comes to film scores. And so that's exciting. And we're going to talk about a relative of his next month when we do Wally. So we'll get there when we get there. Yeah, the music of Randy Newman is synonymous with this film. And then we come, of course, last of all, and this is probably, other than the actors, the biggest, and that's the spectacle. As we mentioned, this is the first, full-length CGI movie. Certainly, they changed the industry completely. Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask, I'll start with you, Chris. This movie is certainly a great technical achievement. Where does it stand for you as far as being a technical achievement and an artistic achievement? Does it veer more in the direction of being a great technical achievement, or does it work both ways?
Well, I think in the same way that, for example, when Tron came out,
Mhm.
Tron was a technical achievement. Nobody can deny that. But you look at it today, Tron's a terrible looking film. Compared to today, it's a terrible looking film. I understand it was early 1980s, but it didn't age well. Toy Story is a technical marvel. Again, 1995, and they were starting this in 93. When I've got a cell phone that was probably doing the computing power that your animated computers in 1993 were doing, or more, that says something. It is an achievement, absolutely. However, this is the only thing that really bugs me is, and I've watched it in 4K, I've watched it upped. It's not as clean as even when they came back with Toy Story 2. When they came around with, and by the way, that's a whole other really cool story about how close we were
Yes.
to not having Toy Story
Oh, yeah.
2.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Fascinating story.
Yeah.
But they cleaned it up so much, and every Toy Story film since has cleaned up the details and cleaned up the details and cleaned up the details. So now when you're looking at Toy Story 1 and you're going to Toy Story 4, or even looking at the trailer for Toy Story 5, night and day. And it looks like, and I don't mean it as an insult, it looks like Tin Toy. I mean, a little cleaner than Tin Toy, but it looks like Tin Toy. You could kind of see the lines, you could kind of see the edges. Like, it hasn't aged well graphically. Yes, it's an accomplishment. But while the story and the music and the acting carry that, the technical achievement of it, I think, has gone down by the wayside as technology has advanced. So I don't think it's aged as well. We have to acknowledge what it was. But looking at it now, it's definitely not as clean. But I can't hold that against it. But I'm just calling what I see.
One thing, Jeff, I noticed is the animation of the humans. It's pretty horrifying in this film.
Uncanny Valley much?
It's better than Tin Toy's Baby. But
Yeah,
not,
oh, yes,
not by
yes,
I
much.
just said that
yes.
as a comparison.
Not by
Please
much.
understand.
Yes,
And if we didn't have Tin Toy, we don't have Toy Story. Tin Toy is what
That's right.
inspired that.
Mhm.
The Luxo Ball. I mean, I don't have that Lego set yet. I so want the Luxo Ball Lego set.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the achievement that it can't be denied. Again, first Lasseter to get a special achievement for that was for a reason.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I can't take that away. But we're 30 years later, it's not very clean anymore. It just isn't. And I actually would really hope that one day Pixar would go back and maybe, and I just say maybe, let's, I want to clean it up a little bit. What would Toy Story 1 look like with the processing power and speeds we have now? I'm just curious. I am curious about that.
Chris, when you say clean, I'm just to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like the resolution? Is that what you're thinking of?
Well, one, yeah, a little bit of resolution.
Uh-huh.
There is some fuzziness in the details.
Yeah.
And like when you look at Woody in the later ones, like I'll give you an example. In this film, we saw him get that little dot on his head, things like that. There's scuff marks. There's things that get repaired in later films. But if you look at the details really, really closely, despite in Toy Story 2 how good the cleaner says he is, there are little things, tiny things that you could see in the details that it would take really good animators and really good resolution and processing to make those details come alive. The swirls in Woody's boot. You know, little things like that you look at the first film and they're just not there. It's just not clean. And when you saw it in 95, this is amazing. I wouldn't have noticed it. But now looking back, you're like, there are a lot more details. And I would really love to see, just as a thought experiment, what would it look like with today's technology? Clean it up a little bit. Just
I think, yeah, I think what you're describing, it's interesting because I don't think of it, but you're right. You're the texturing, right? That's really what we're talking about in some ways is like, because the swirls, the little textures, we call them bump maps sometimes, is like the way that the light bounces off the surface of a character, right? That's sort of, it feels like that's what you're describing, right? And I get that, right? Like everything in Toy Story is very smooth. Right? It doesn't, everything, the light hits everything kind of the same way, unless it's metal, in which case it's really obvious. And that is one of the huge advances that the technology has made over the years. There's been a lot of emphasis on it too. And I think that's why you're seeing, like, that's why you can compare and look at.
I think there was an
before,
increase, right? Even like when we got straight to Monsters Inc. You know, there has been nothing like Sully's hair. And yet I know there have been other characters now that are even more detailed, but you go back and I still look at Sully's hair, like that is an amazing accomplishment. And I still don't question it today. Like that is beautiful, but that just shows you the advancement of technology and how fast it can happen. But again, this was, I feel bad because I'm talking about something that was started in the early to mid 90s when this wasn't being done. So, you know, I'm complaining about nothing really.
I think it's fine. I think one of the other things too, I've been seeing these videos creep up on my YouTube suggestions. I watched part of one that talks about how the original Toy Story was printed onto film, right? Like it's projected onto film so it could be shown. That was the only way to show it. They didn't have digital movie projectors or anything like that. And so the version of the movie that we watch on Disney Plus or on your DVD or your Blu-ray is not only color graded a little differently than it would have been on film, but I do wonder, like, if you were to see it on film today, I do wonder if you wouldn't feel that as much because you would get the noise of the film.
You know, when we saw it, I remember seeing it. We did not go see it in the theaters. We weren't a rich family at all. We were very poor. So going to the theaters was a treat. And so we didn't get it till a year later. Remember when VHSs took like a year to come out?
Oh yeah.
It was Halloween of 1996. It was the first year I said, I'm not doing trick-or-treating anymore. And my brothers and sisters and my mom all went out, and my dad showed me we had Toy Story. We popped in Toy Story and we watched Toy Story while kids were coming to the door. And it was amazing. It was beautiful. But I think it's a similar process. We're only talking a year later. And that, you know, on a videotape is not so different.
No.
It really isn't. So yeah, you know, and I don't have that VHS anymore. I have my Blu-ray copies and I have Disney Plus.
Well, I think they had to print it again. They had to, I don't know if they rendered it again, but they had to print it again for the VHS.
They redid it. They've actually redone Toy Stories 1 and 2 multiple times. They 3D upgraded it the first time in the 2000s when Toy Story 2 was going to come out. And so Toy Story 1 got a 3D look for, you know, a short amount of time. And then later on when Toy Story 3 was coming out, they're like, all right, and they redid for high def at the time Toy Stories 1 and 2. And again, 3D TVs, They redid the 3D treatment over again. So I
Right.
know it's been retouched and retouched. And now go to Disney Plus, it's Disney Plus.
Yeah.
They redo everything whether we like it or not. But just even looking at it, I watched it on Disney Plus. It's still very 1995. And I just want to see it cleaner.
You want to see it cleaned up, textured.
I just want,
more.
actually, I watched, did you ever see the YouTube people who redid shot for shot Toy Story with actual toys?
No.
Somebody actually did that. They did shot for shot with real toys. It was so cool. Amazing that they did that. And they took the time, like it was feature length. Disney had a big deal about it. You can't do this and yada, 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 yada.
Of course,
anyway,
of course.
But I love it. Yes, I'm complaining about something that is
fine.
30 years old, and I get it. It's nitpicking, and that's just looking at it through a lens of 2025. But, 12-year-old me loved it and watched it over and over and over again. And when you go to a doctor's office, even today, in a doctor's office, when there's a kids area, Toy Story is playing. It keeps going, and that is the legacy that it's left behind. That is what it continues. There's a reason we're going for a 5th movie. It's that good. A franchise where there is no bad Toy Story so far. Please don't let there be a bad Toy Story.
If it's bad, it's my fault. I'll take credit for it. I'll take the blame.
We will come on here. It was Jeff's
fault. It was me. I'm sorry, and I'll tell you what I did wrong. One thing I do want to say about the artistry back then is I think if you look at the character animation specifically, it's a little crude sometimes, but the fundamentals are all there. That it's the same 2D animation fundamentals that you would have gotten, because a lot of those animators came from 2D, right? And so the way that they move, the way they express with their faces, I think all that still holds up despite the technology stuff is, I agree, but the actual like movement and animation, I think does really, really well. And when you consider that they were essentially using like really crude programs that could barely do anything, it's pretty amazing.
And whether you're doing it, no matter which one of the 3 ways that you're doing animation, whether it's traditional hand-drawn animation, computer-based animation, or stop motion animation, the process isn't so different no matter what way you got to do it. You got to plan it out. You got to know what you're doing. You've got to have a competent voice. You've got to have all the same things in the row. It's just the production process that is a little bit different.
Yep.
But you're still making a film in a lot of the same ways, just choosing a different medium. I taught my students, I'm a teacher, and when I used to do after-school programs, I would teach them how to do stop-motion animation. We're using just Play-Doh. The number of Among Us Play-Doh stop-motion videos I have hidden somewhere is amazing. They all wanted to do Among Us. They're easy to make. But animation is so beautiful. There is a reason that I absolutely hate people saying that animated films are kiddie films. I hated it when I was a kid. I hate it now. Animation is just another medium. And in fact, I think it's a more challenging medium to do. Yes, you can do more, but you have to do it in a more restricted way. You can't just you can tell an actor, hey, I need you to look over here. But if you want to do that in animation and you didn't plan on that, the amount of cells and the amount of work that you're going to have to do just to do a 90-degree head turn is insane. And I don't care how good your computer is, even today, it takes time to make those and render those and make those choices. And so animation is a beautiful art that is for a lot more than just children's film and children's fodder. I think there are some amazing films out there that are more than children's films now that have gone beyond that. Look at the Spider-Verse films. I just watched K-Pop Demon Hunter. Yes, they're for kids, but there's some complexity and depth in the animation that is amazing. And the styles of animation are changing with the times. And now we're taking animation and instead of before where we would take live action and put it in animation, we're taking animation and put it in live action. I highly recommend to anyone who can find it. Spirited Away is one of my all-time favorite films, period. Love it in animation. Japan did 2 different versions of a stage version of Spirited Away. It was on HBO Max for a while. It isn't. I loved it so much, I actually bought the digital version because I was like, I love this. And I'm a theater person. But if you didn't have that original idea in animation, you weren't going to get those. And the fact that you can take that and turn it the other way and move it, that's the legacy. That's what Toy Story is. When I go to Disneyland and I get to meet Buzz or Woody or Jesse, that's what that is. That is that legacy. That is what this is about. It is about the joy and the beauty of what it means to be an artist and means to be human. And you can get that in animation. It's not just about being a kid. It is accepting that you can be an adult and still have the wonder and mystery of life, a childhood inside you. I'm sorry, I just feel like I was on a soapbox there for a while.
It was wonderful. It was a wonderful soapbox.
Yes. So that sort of brings us to the end of the analysis of the film. And we did want to talk really quick. We want to keep it rather brief, but Jeff, is there anything that you can share with us about Toy Story 5, which comes out next year?
What can I share?
To all 4 of our viewers.
To all 4 of you out there, let's see. I got to be careful. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I got to be careful. I don't want to get in trouble. I like my job. One of the things that I think is good to know. Let's see. It does involve technology and kids dealing with technology. But I think it doesn't. I think it's more complicated. I'm curious what the reviews will say and stuff, and what people will think before going into it. But I do think that it handles kids and technology with a little more nuance than maybe people going in will think. So I do want to put a plug in for that. And I do want to say that great people worked on the movie. Andrew Stanton was back in the director's chair or co-director's chair, and he was marvelous to work with, and Kenna was as well. Just a lot of fun, really dedicated people went into doing this. Really thoughtful. It's when you see hundreds and hundreds of people sort of get behind a project, it's really, really something remarkable and wonderful. And then we kind of forget it. We watch a movie and we go, oh, that kind of stunk, poo poo, which is actually good. I guess you should evaluate a movie on the merits of whether or not it's good, despite how many people worked on it or how passionate they were. But I hope people know when they go to see it that lots of passionate people who love good movies, who want to make good movies, they went to make it. I think already in the trailers there's the multiple buzzes. Is that in the trailers?
They have not shown that, but they've acknowledged that.
Okay, they've acknowledged
that's happening.
Okay, all right. That stuff is really fun.
Don't worry, they're one playing this in this podcast.
Yeah, I didn't work on any of those scenes, but I got to watch them, and they were like consistently some of my favorite bits. And not just there's one bit too, and it wasn't just funny too. Like there was one that was extremely moving for me as I was watching it. It really, really meaningful. I was like, oh, they hit something here with the mini buzzes that just seemed to be sort of a at first just sort of a goofy thing.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this, and actually more than anything, knowing how Toy Story 4 ended, I just want to know why and how Woody is back.
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm like, why? Or are we ignoring this entirely?
No, you'll get some like, why is Woody here? You'll get some of that for sure. I mean, you'll get Woody because Woody is fun, right? And Woody and Buzz spending time together is fun, and you get a lot of that. And I think in number 4, that if I remember, they separated them.
They do. They at the end of it, Woody stays behind with Bo, and Buzz and Forky and all the others, they go back with Bonnie.
I even over the course of the movie in number 3, I think or 4. I mean, I think they're separated, but in this one, it's them together.
Yeah, they come back again. So my thought was either it's kind of like a prequel-ish, like before.
It's not a prequel. No,
it's not. It is.
No,
so it is coming after.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, it takes place after.
See?
It takes place after.
Good. That ruined that one. I was like, that's got to be a way they do it.
No, let me shoot that down right now. Not a prequel. It takes place after number 4 for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. What is the release date for the film?
Ooh, I should know that.
I have it open.
Is it June?
June 19th.
June 19th. That's right. June 19th.
Yes. And our main villain, I'm really excited because our main villain is a lily pad played by Greta Lee. I'm very excited.
Okay. All
But
right.
more than that, Conan O'Brien's going to be in it.
And he is great, and his
Mhm.
character is really fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've
I'm
had
a-
some interesting insight from my brother-in-law that some of the voice actors behind
Oh yeah, you get some of that info
recent
early.
Pixar films.
yeah. Tony Hale's back, Anna Faris, Melissa Villaseñor, Ernie Hudson. That's Combat Carl.
Mm.
Ernie Hudson. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey.
And Jeff has revealed to me we won't name names, but nepotism apparently
All right, how
not
many of your
not
kids did
in
you get in it?
Oh, I wish I could. No. It's all SAG people.
not in
Probably,
this
the
film,
Screen
but
Actors Guild.
Hollywood nepotism.
I was like, that's
in
how the Boo
previous-
thing happened.
Oh yeah.
Not in this film, but in previous
Yeah.
films, Hollywood nepotism.
Oh yeah, not in this film. Yeah.
No, in our case, it's not nepotism. It's the fact that my two nephews and my two nieces are all production babies in a movie.
That's true.
Their names are on the little thing. I like it.
Yep, they're on the scrolling thing.
Yeah,
well,
the casting has been spot on.
Our youngest isn't yet. She'll be on Toy Story 5.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah. So everyone look for Margot Noel call.
Mm-hmm. I think it'll just say Margot, but yeah. You can look at it.
All right. So before we end this, we do got to end this. Unfortunately, I came up with 3 rapid fire Toy Story questions just for you, Jeff.
Okay.
And I just want to see your initial thoughts. You don't have to think intently about it.
Okay.
Just go with your first instinct.
I'm ready.
First question: what Toy Story character through the entire franchise are you most like?
Right now, Wheezy, because I'm like a little bit, the little penguin, right? Wheezy. Other times, I feel like maybe Buzz Lightyear. Like I feel like I'm at times not totally with it. Like maybe I don't perceive the world 100% accurately, and I'm just trying to ride the wave of what I think I am and what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love it. All right, question number 2. What is a toy that you played with as a kid that is not in the franchise that you would love to see put as a Toy Story character?
Stretch Armstrong.
Is that a licensing issue?
Probably. It probably is. Probably. Yeah, Stretch Armstrong jumps out. I think it's coming back too, but not in the movie. Just in general, kids are playing with it again. Yeah, that's the one that jumps out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Final question. Okay. As I'm sure these films will go on and on and on and on and on forever and ever, and you don't have to give any spoilers for 5. But if there was to be a Toy Story 6 and you were to give your 10-second pitch of what should happen next, what would you think?
Oh, toys in space. No, I don't know. That's a good question.
That's where everyone takes their franchise right now.
I did pitch a version where actually it was going to be a short. I tried to pitch. I probably should talk about this. I'm going to talk about it anyway. Where it was, you went back in time to the prehistoric ages, and you went to the first toy, and it was a rock with like a face scribbled on it.
I love
that. That's what it was. It was like first toy. I think is what it was
Toys
called.
through the ages.
Yeah, and it was just a rock that this little Cro-Magnon girl had and talked to and that sort of thing. Yeah, so that's what I think. Let's go back in time.
I like that.
And Disney, if you're listening,
they're always listening. Don't. Hopefully they're not listening.
They're listening everywhere. I know better.
I pitched the idea to Pete Doctor. It didn't go anywhere. So we'll see.
All right.
Turn the con back to you, Captain.
Thank you so much. Well, Jeff, this has really been a treat and a joy. And this is only half because you have also willingly volunteered to join us for WALL-E next month.
That's right. But after doing this, I don't know if I'm coming back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm definitely
We
back.
can talk more about WALL-E itself.
I'm definitely back. I'm coming back. Yeah.
Yes. But thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, I know you're busy and it's the holidays and, so we really appreciate, we've had professionals on here, but never somebody directly involved in the process. And that's just such a great treat to hear that. And we really appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me on. It was great. It was so fun to talk about Toy Story and talk about it with the two of you.
All right. Brennan, I shared last week what we got coming up. I don't think we need to repeat it. Brennan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky, Brennan Martin at bluesky.social. Instagram, Brennan Blue. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Page Turner's They Were Not.
And you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at cingle1984. But as always, we end every episode, kapla, and live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.